Mark. Ini, dia lo kata kau sering kata, ini, kita kau kan ini dua orang kaca. Eh,
Oh, ano ang may nga?
Yung ano na yung mata, wala ka mga ka.
Kwanta.
Ayan, beshi.
Nararamdaman ko. Hindi.
Ba, ilan lang isi. Di ba yung masakit ang kunci ko na siya? Pero yung lakma po, di mo ko daw siya. Ika di lost ito ako. Maka gini kebo. Umagi naman ang mati. Jadi kung hindi kita nggak ada apa, ya itu dia wala ko, dan kamano. Mara ke kima jago chumune ke ngano ne yang isa po ina ne ah. Ato ngadi.
Tapos is all news kami.
What happened? No sound? Hello, members.
John. Awor,
Yes, I'm getting you.
how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I am good. Make Dr. Margaret Mwaura a co-host.
Okay.
Please, thank you. Colleagues, tupatie wenzetu a few more minutes, then we start. Colleagues, good evening. Good evening. Let's have a prayer. Let's have a prayer from any one of us. And mute and pray for us. Edna. Edna Maloba. Or any other person, please. Oh, Edna is saying she's not able to unmute. John, allow Edna to unmute.
Good evening, Daktari. Good evening,
Good evening,
colleagues.
Edna. How have you been?
I've been okay.
Sawa sawa, tuombee.
Tunashukuru.
Amen.
Sawa sawa. Let us believe and pray. Everlasting Father, in Jesus' name, we come before your presence this evening with thanksgiving in our hearts because you've been so good to us. You've been so faithful to us. You continue to take care of us. You continue to watch over us together with our loved ones. Lord, we offer our thanksgiving to you. Jehovah Master, we thank you for this cohort. Indeed, it has taken your hand. You've been Ebenezer in our lives, in our studies, my Father. From the very time we decided to take this course, my Father, you have always been with us. And you've walked with us this far. We lift your name up on high and bless you. Thank you for all our dear colleagues. Thank you for Daktari and the entire Kemi team that has facilitated our progress up to this far. Lord, yes, we know that we are going through several challenges here and there, but we know that with your power and your grace, we shall be able to overcome. And therefore, Father, in your goodness and your precious name, You have allowed us to be here in this meeting, in this class. We ask for your blessings. We ask for the power of the Holy Spirit to infiltrate our minds so that all the things that we're going to discuss and everything that we're going to learn, Father, it shall be useful to make us good counselors for your glory and for your honor. We commit Dr. Margaret to you, that Father, you'll continue to inspire her. You'll continue to use her as a vessel for the glorification of your name. And this is our humble prayer of thanksgiving that we make through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Edna. Karibuni tena, colleagues. Let us now have our last session. And Dr. Margaret Mwaura is ready for that, our last session. Then we will see what comes after this. We'll take a short break because we'll have 2 more modules to go. And I know by the time you're finishing, we'll be at a good place. I know now you've already started the practicum. Do it at your level, do it where you are able to get people. Do it where there's someone who is able to supervise you, even if it is in your school and you have someone who is a counselor, has been registered and has been doing it. That one can also supervise you. Don't go out, don't make it very difficult for you. It does not have to be in an institution like a hospital or like a hospital. Work with what is available, because what is it that we are looking forward to get? We are looking at seeing how far we have grown. It is about you and I, and being a process doesn't mean that you hit it on the first go. We still continue, and this is for us to know we are ready and we are moving on. There are a few things that have been brought to the wall. I have seen them, and some of them are things I'm going to address at a personal level with some of you. I will not make it a group, something that is going to be addressed by a group. For now, you got my number. Anything that you feel is not working for you, even if I don't pick your call, always send me a message. There'll always be a reply. Hata kama ya kuwa I have seen your work, even if I'm replying late, I'll still give you a reply. So, Dr. Mwaura, we have been very grateful that you've walked with us this journey. You started with us when we were starting the course. You are still with us as we are moving on. And I'm trusting that you're going to be with us until we finish this course. And eventually, we still trust that we will come to you, even as learners, when we require more information on counseling, when we require personal counseling. We hope you will allow us to look for you, and for anything that's counseling and will require you, I believe you'll be there for us. Karibu Daktari.
Okay, thank you, Daktari Grace Katundu, once again for this opportunity. I have always loved to be here with my fellow teachers, just to feel that I am making a difference in somebody's life. And when you empower a teacher, it means that you have empowered the generation that is served by the teachers. So when I see you teachers, I see the many children that you serve, I see the many colleagues you interact with, and I see the change, the change going on and on. And so I feel I'm in the right place, doing the right thing, and I want to really appreciate your presence. Okay, so once again, we are going to have another topic on lifespan development. And before we embark on today's topic, last time when I met you, I was talking about what we are calling the rational emotive behavioral therapy, the REP, the rational emotive therapy. And at once there, somebody said did not understand. And that really it has been disturbing me, because I'm wondering, oh my God, I think I need to look on how I disseminate information. But I understand so much was happening in our country. I can imagine some of us, maybe we are distracted, we are mourning, we are grieving. So I know that it was possible that some of you did not understand. So maybe I just want to request Dr. Grace that wherever that you think we should go through this topic again, I am ready to do that. I am ready to do that because my aim is not just teaching. My aim is to empower. Because as I said, when we empower you, we are empowering all the people who interact with this teacher and even the future generations. So anytime, even reaching to me personally, I wouldn't even mind taking you through what we did about the rational emotive behavior therapy because it is very important. Personally, that is what I normally use as a counselor. I find myself using rational emotive behavior therapy all the time because most of our issues, may it be students, may it be children, emanate from what we think. And in a rational emotive therapy simply means that our thoughts are very important. Our thoughts, if they are irrational, they give us emotions that are also very negative and disturbing. And emotions will give birth to behavior that are also negative behavior. So when we work on our mind, when we work on our thoughts, it means that we also streamline our feelings, that is emotive or emotions, and we also streamline our behavior. Vice versa, our behaviors can also create a certain feeling in us. If I do the wrong thing, then I feel bad about it. The feeling, I feel bad about it. And then that feeling is going to influence what I think. It will tell me you are a bad person. It will tell me you are not worth it. So they influence each other. So when somebody comes to you for counseling, the first thing we ask ourselves is that, is the problem about the way they are thinking? Is it about their feelings? Is it about their behavior? You must have clarity of why the person is suffering, because we are suffering because of any of them. We are suffering because of what we are thinking. We are suffering because of our feelings, our emotions, and we could be suffering because of our behavior. Once you know, once you are able to tell why the person is suffering, the counseling needs, then you can always bring about the intervention. And you can never know how to intervene. You can never know the best intervention to use until you know the domain that is suffering. Is this the cognitive domain? Is this the emotional domain? Is it the behavior domain that is suffering? It is just about that. But in case somebody needs more, I am ready to do it. Okay, so welcome to today's topic, the lifespan development. And I think I'll go through to my presentation. Let me share my screen. Am I sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay. So it's about the theories of lifespan development or understanding lifespan development. And when we talk about lifespan, it simply means the whole lot of our life. That is from the time we are conceived in our mother's womb to the time we will die. We need certain environment for us to thrive. A child in the mother's womb needs specific environment to grow and to develop to become a healthy or to be born a healthy baby. Once we are born, we need a certain environment to continue growing in our various domains. And of course, life continues every stage of our life. We require a certain kind of support. And it is important to realize and to know, where am I in life? What are the challenges in this kind of stage of life that I'm in, or who are the children I'm interacting with? Where are they in this lifespan development? What challenges, what potential challenges are they likely to be facing? When you have a client, the first thing is to know who is your client, in which lifespan, in which developmental stage is the client, so that you can be able to relate what they are going through with the developmental challenges. And that is why it is so important for the counselors to know about this, because some of the clients may not be able to know even why they are suffering. They cannot comprehend their counseling needs. But when you get to know who they are in their life development, you can even guess what could be the problem. And that's why when you have a client, the first thing is to have them fill an intake form. Let them fill the form so that you can even know their age, because the intake form will have maybe their age, their preferred names, their level of education, maybe their career, are they married or single, and so on and so forth. So when you get to know where they are in terms of their chronological age, maybe you can tell what is likely to be the issue. So that's what we are saying. It is very important for a counselor to know this lifespan development, so that you can be able to relate with your client and be able to come up with the best intervention for the client. Okay, so the theories of lifespan development, this is unit 8, as Dr. Grace has said, is the last one. And when we talk about lifespan development, we talk about a lifelong process, which begins from conception and continues up to death. And this lifespan development, we study how humans grow, how they change, how they continue maturing. And in this, we also look at the developmental challenges, and we call them developmental delays. Not everybody who will develop and become a healthy individual. Some people or some children, some clients will have some developmental delays. And therefore, that delay could be the issue or has created counseling needs in that particular person. So this lifespan development examine domains like physical, that is how we grow physically, cognitive, that is about
Mama, mzee anakaa
our
kama Masai hivi
mental,
mwembamba. Ukimwona
our mental
hata kama unaweza
activity.
kwenda.
Who is talking?
Mama. Huyu mzee nakwambia mwembamba.
Daktari, unmute. Oh, okay.
Okay, I've done it. Am I okay now? Dr. Grace, am I okay?
You are okay. You are okay now.
Okay. So you're saying this field of lifespan development include physical, that is how we grow physically, the physical aspect of us, cognitive, that is the mental activities, how our mind, our brain grow, how the brain develop and carry out activities like memory, perception, and so on. We also talk about psychosocial changes across the entire lifespan, and the psychosocial includes and we are going to look at it later on. So in this case, we are talking about the stages that each one of us will pass through, the stages our clients are in. And these stages also, they are multidimensional. And we change in so many ways. They are also multidirectional. Corporate stages. There is also plastic process. That is, our brain keep on changing, accommodating new idea, new information, and so on. And all these stages are influenced by biological, social, and environmental factors. The biological factors could be the genes The social factor could be our ability to interact with others. And environmental factors could be the school, the home environment in which a child grows or in which we have grown. So all these, the biological factor, the social factor, and the environmental factor can cause us some kinds of the psychological or even emotional needs that may require counseling. So we are saying the key domains of development, they are physical, that is the changes in the body. That is how we grow, our motor skills, our health. Cognitive is about our intellectual abilities like thinking, learning, memory, and reasoning. Psychosocial is about how we changes in emotions, personality, social relationships, self-esteem, and behavior. And you'll find that we will encounter clients who have got issues because of these domains. Some will have problem with their physical body because they don't like the way they see themselves. They have very low self-image, is negative. They have issues with their health. They have issues with their mobility. Others will come for counseling because of cognitive. Think well. They have problem in learning, like our learners may have learning disabilities. They have lost their memory. Some will have dementia. Others, they cannot reason well, so they are making wrong judgments. They are making wrong decisions and so on. Others will come for counseling because of psychosocial, lack of emotional regulations, because of personality disorders, because they cannot relate with the others well, that is social relationship, because they have very low self-esteem, or because of behavioral maladjustments. So the period of development, therefore, are very, very important to take into consideration when you are doing counseling. For example, this period are they contain some important tasks. And this task must be fulfilled. And the person becomes a full functioning person depending on the success or completion of the task and how well they have been able to negotiate this task in every particular stage and then move to the other stage. Some people get stuck in some of these stages or periods. And getting stuck means they need somebody to unstuck them. And that somebody to unstuck them is the counselor. Generally, this period involves the prenatal. This is when the child is in the mother's womb. I said it is very important for a child to have the right environment when they're in their mother's womb, so that they can grow to have adequate personality. There is infancy, that is, child is born. They also need an environment that is supportive, that is caring, as we are going to look at the theories. Then we have early childhood. Before they go to school, they are in their homes. The home must be very warm and caring for this child to grow to grow in all the dimensions. Then there is middle and late childhood. It is already in school, so the child must be given the right environment in school to thrive in those domains. There is adolescence. Remember, adolescence is a very critical stage. It's a stage whereby every one of us face a lot of problems, a lot of critical issues to do with the emotions, to do with the hormonal changes, to do with the peer pressure and so on. So being a critical stage, these adolescents need support. They will have many issues. You'll find a lot of adolescents in counseling because of the issues of poor relationship with others and controlled emotions, peer pressure, and so on. So it's a stage where we need to really know, who is this? What are they telling me and what aren't they telling me? Because I know in this stage, they are facing this particular problem. We have early adulthood. Early adulthood, they also have their own problems of relationships. They have their own problem of transitions. We have middle adulthood. They now have the families. They don't know how to negotiate, bring up children, especially teenagers who are better rebellious. They're also having challenges in the marital relationships and so on. Late adulthood, they are dealing with the old age. They are struggling with abandonment. They are struggling with the dementia. They are struggling with the fragility, or they no longer have the physical strength. They no longer have the emotional, cognitive abilities, and so on. So as we can see, all of us are somewhere along this. And understanding these stages is very important so that we can also handle ourselves. We can employ self-empathy. We can have self-compassion, and we can know that the challenges we are facing because of this period of development, they are normal. But in case you get stuck, you need help. We have a demonstration of the developmental lifespan. See, all of them are moving. And each one of them is in a particular stage where they need help because of where they are and because of who they are. That is because of the context in which they find themselves. So each stage in development is key in understanding human mind and behavior, and as well as the key motivators for behavior. People behave the way they do because of the stage in which they are in. Therefore, a teacher, any parents should understand this lifespan development so that they will be able to relate with the young ones. They'll be able to understand them as well as understanding themselves. And therefore, in this unit, in this topic, we are going to deal with theories that explain this lifespan development and how we can use them in the guidance and counseling. For example, we are going to use Freud or Sigmund Freud psychoanalytic theory. We are going to use Erikson psychosocial theory. We are going to use Piaget's theory of cognitive development. And we are going to use Kohlberg's theory of moral development. These are not the only theories that explain lifespan development. And because you cannot discuss all of them, we have narrowed it down to these 4 theories. And let's begin to see how can we relate with every theory. And we know when we are doing counseling, when you are attending to a client, you must always ask yourself, which theory am I putting in place? Which theory at the back of your mind, you must have the theory. Because the theory will give you the techniques. The theory will give you the interventions that you need to employ when you're dealing with the client. So counseling is not about, it is not about free thinking. It is very systematic. It is very logical because you have to employ the theories. And therefore, having the theories in mind is very important. Internalizing the theories is very important because they give you the framework. They guide you into how you interact with your client. So those are the theories that we are going to look at. And before we can look at the theories, let's define this key concept. Lifespan development. We have said it is those changes occurs in different stages of life and involves exploration of biological, cognitive, psychological changes that occur throughout life. Then growth is a gradual process. It is an increase in size. And when we are growing, it means that we are increasing in size, in height, in weight, and so on. But this does not go on forever. Because if you continue growing every day, then you become giants. So growth stops. But there is also development. Development is a process that creates growth, progress, positive change in the physical, social, emotional, and cognitive components. So development is internal. We cannot see development, but we can see somebody growing. And development can go on. It is lifelong. Because even as you are seated there, you are growing academically, or you are developing academically. You are doing what you call professional development. So we can continue empowering ourselves until death, but it grows to an end adulthood. It stops, but the development continues. So what makes us now have issues? It may not be growth. It may be because of development. Maybe you are not developing at all, or we are not developing a direction, or we have not noted, or we have gotten stuck in life. We have not developed social skills to relate well. We have not developed emotional intelligence. We have not developed cognitively, and this is where counseling needs may arise. So when we talk about what is lifespan development, therefore, we have defined the terms, and we have said it's a lifelong process that can be studied scientifically across 3 developmental domains. And I've mentioned about physical, cognitive, and also psychosocial development. And we have said what this physical, cognitive, and psychosocial development are all about. Therefore, lifespan development starts from birth to death, we have said, and in each stage, different theories give their perspectives. It is important to understand these stages as a guidance and counselor teacher, because some of the issues affecting children comes from their childhood experiences. For example, a child with a delayed developmental milestone might have challenges in learning. He may not put up with the others, and that may make the child lose their self-esteem, self-confidence in the process. A child growing up in an abusive relationship is likely to have challenges learning and even their memory. And therefore, scientifically, infant exposure to stressful experiences in the first year of life affect their growth, their development, not only of the body, but also of the brain, especially those regions of the brain called amygdala, hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex. And when these regions of the brain are affected, automatically they interfere with the learning, they interfere with the memory, they interfere with executive functioning. So the teacher must know what is happening to my children. In which environment are my children growing or have been brought up? So that they may be able to understand what are the needs and what can you do to help this child to catch up in life, to process the trauma they have gone through, or even to mitigate what might affect them further. And therefore, a teacher dealing with the children with learning challenges, it becomes easier for you to support the child and the parents as well. We are justifying the fact that learning, the lifespan development is very important. We don't have to discuss now. Let me move on. So we can now embark on discussing these theories, starting with psychodynamic theories of development. And the theory we are going to discuss here is called psychoanalytic theory. So psychodynamic theory, they are those theories that emphasize on conscious, our unconscious, and childhood experiences. They emphasize that childhood experiences are so important because they contribute to a well-functioning adult or otherwise. Therefore, if a child, if childhood it can be aligned so well, including life at home and life in school, then we would have fully functioning adults. That is a general concept of psychodynamic theories. If we can narrow down to psychoanalytic theory by Sigmund Freud, who lived between 1856 and 1939, we are going to look deeper into what makes a child and how these experiences contribute challenges or otherwise to a child even in school. Sigmund Freud is the first psychologist to come up with a theory in human development. He was the founder of psychodynamic approach to psychology, and his main concern was unconscious as a drive that explained human behavior. He believed that the mind is responsible for both conscious and unconscious decisions, basis of psychological drives. He was saying a human being has got the mind. And the mind is so important in making decisions. The decisions that can make us or break us. And therefore, he explained this in terms of the levels of conscious and unconscious. He also came up with personality. What is personality? And the element of personality. And how we develop to become persons of a certain characteristic. So Sigmund Freud came up with levels of the mind. And he said the levels of the mind are called the id, the ego, the superego. And this makes the personality. We can discuss briefly this id. The id, which is part of our personality, is the primitive, impulsive component of a person. And it is drawn by pleasure. It is intolerant, it is bright, it is selfish. And the function of this id, it is that it is the source of our instinct, the source of our urges and desires. It is completely unconscious part of the mind. And the driving force is pleasure principle. It seeks immediate gratification for its demands. If this part of us is hungry, I want food right now. If I'm thirsty, I want a drink right now. It does not know how to wait. Therefore, we are calling it primitive. For example, a newborn crying when hungry, without any rational thought behind it. The baby just wants food because the id is very strong in the baby. And what is important to learn is that we are born with the id. It is present from birth. And we are saying it is extremely or entirely unconscious. That's how we behave in a passive way. You just act without thinking. That is the id in control. And because you are saying the id demands immediate gratification of their needs, if these needs are not satisfied, then the id or the person get into a state of anxiety. or tension. And the aid is very important in the early years, especially for babies, because the baby will just cry. The baby, when it's uncomfortable, he will scream, he will shout, he will throw tantrums. And this will call upon the caregiver to pay attention to the infant needs. Because the baby will cry until the demands of the aid are satisfied. And therefore, the infants are ruled entirely by the aid. There is no listening with them when these needs demand satisfaction. However, each one of us has got the aid in us. And it's important to learn how to control the needs and to have a delayed gratification. For example, when you behave in an impassive manner and shout at someone or insult or hit someone, that means you are being controlled by the aid. But when you are adult, we need to have control of the aid. Even our runners, they're also controlled by the aid at one time or the other. That's why you find some runners who ban the school because they have been denied opportunity to watch football. Or simply because they don't like the meal. They just ban the school. That is aid in control. Thereafter, they regret, but they acted impassively. So understanding why people do the things that they do, and you wonder, is this a mature person? Why are you thinking? It is the aid that overpowers them. So if you find a client who have been controlled by the aid and has done some heinous crime or an act, then you should understand them and help them to note, to be keen when the aid is in control, so that they can be able to be in control of it. Some will come telling you, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how I did it. I just found myself in it. And that's why counselors are not supposed to judge. They're supposed to understand instead of judging. So the work of the counselor is to help the client to empower themselves so that they'll be able to control the impulses of the aid. So we are saying that in this case, even when you are working with a student, it is important to discipline the child as they continue growing so that they can be able to resist the power of the aid. They are not going to throw tantrums anywhere. Children need to be disciplined, to be patient, and understand that they will not always get what they want. Even ourselves, we don't have to get what we want always. The teachers should train children to deal with the disappointment from the early age. And this training should continue until this idea is internalized. The children need to know that no is an answer. No is an answer. When the parents say, no screen time today, it is not time for screen time. That should be so. When the teacher says there is no making noise, that should be taken seriously. Otherwise, if you don't allow that, the children will become uncontrollable and they will be unable to develop delayed gratification. That I can wait until break time to talk to my friend. That I can wait for my chance to come, to be given my surprise, whatever it is, I don't have to grab. This eventually may affect their behavior. And therefore, to be able to help these children to align their behavior, to grow from this impasse or impassivity, then we need to strengthen their ego. Where they can be assertive, They can develop resilience and restraining skills. That's about the id. Then there is the ego. The ego is the realistic decision-making part that mediates between the id, the superego, and the reality. The ego is very rational. It is very rational, unlike the id. It collects something wrong. So the function of the ego is that it is reality check. Is this person doing the right thing? And that develops from the id, says behavior. So when the id is trying to misbehave, the ego will do reality check. No, you not do this. It is not socially acceptable. It operates consciously, preconsciously, and unconsciously. That is why it is very important. Unlike the id, it operates unconsciously. But the ego can operate consciously, preconsciously, and unconsciously. The driving force of the ego is it operates on the reality principle, finding realistic way to satisfy its desire. If the id wants to eat and there is no food, the ego will say that there is no food, you have to eat. Be realistic. For example, a child asking for food politely instead of grabbing it. That is the ego at work. I can wait for my chance. I can wait for my time. So the ego develops from the id and ensures that the impulses of the id can be expressed in a manner acceptable in the real world. The ego functions in the conscious, preconscious, and conscious, that the personality component responsible for dealing with reality. And the good thing is everyone has the ego. Just as we said, each one of us has got the id. And we are saying the work of the ego is to try to satisfy its desires in a way that is realistic, in a way that is socially appropriate. The ego will weigh the cost and the benefits of an action before deciding to act upon or abandon impulses. For example, a learner who has been well disciplined wants to do something wrong due to the negative peer pressure, but the ego will help him weigh the pros and cons of the behavior. And could he choose to do the right thing? So the teachers and the parents should train the children on delayed gratification so that they can listen more to the ego. And what do? Strengthen the ego of the child. Strengthen your own ego. Help the client to strengthen their ego so that they can be able to mitigate the demands of the id. The superego is the moralistic part that represents internalized social rules and ideals. And the work of superego is the moral component of the personality, representing a person's conscience and ideals. It develops last, typically allowed 5C. It strives for perfection and adherence to moral standards. If the superego is so strong, somebody wants to do the right thing and the right thing always. He's a perfectionist. You obey all the rules. An example, a child choosing not to take a cookie out of a desire, but sent their parents. I cannot pick it until I'm given. Too strict a child. The superego has two parts, the conscience, which includes information about the things that are viewed as bad by parents and society. These behaviors are often forbidden and lead to bad consequences, punishment, feeling of guilt and remorse. So the superego is so conscious about the things that are not allowed. There is also the ego ideal. It includes the rules and standards for behaviors that the ego aspires. And therefore, the superego tries to perfect and civilize our behavior. It suppresses all the its unacceptable urges and struggles to make the ego act that is the principles. And therefore, the superego is present in the conscious, preconscious, and unconscious, just like the id. For example, when a learner wants to engage in antisocial behavior, and the superego, which the moral code of person, may end up not engaging in the behavior, because the superego is so strong, it is warning, this is not right, stop it. It is therefore important to strengthen the superego in the children because it keeps them guarded from bad behavior. Guidance and counseling is important in helping children to develop morally or to have moral development. Then what are we saying? These three elements are very important in counseling. Identify, is this person having a very strong id? That's why he's always finding himself in a problem. Is this student having a very weak ego? That's why he's always being found in punishment. Is this child having a very weak superego? He has no sense of morals. That means that you need to strengthen the superego, strengthen the ego, and weaken the desires of the id. That is a demonstration of the id. The id, I want to do what I want and when I want. And no one should stop me. When I feel like eating, I eat. When I want to scream, I scream. If I want to ban, I ban the school. If I want to abuse, I abuse. I have no control. The ego. I must balance. I must balance. Stop this. It's not this is not okay. It's not real. Banning the school is not good. The consequences are bad. You're not going to meet your needs by banning the school. Then the superego is an angel. Look at the of the superego. The wings is an angel, perfectionist. And the superego can also suffer. If a person has got a very strong superego, you can also suffer because you are perfectionist. You want ideal possession, which is not always possible. And you create problem for yourself and others because you're not satisfied about what others are doing. You expect too much from others. It is also a problem. So the ego must be in the middle to moderate. Moderate the desires of the superego so that you don't become too perfectionist and create problem for yourself and others. And you don't also become controlled by the id. However, we have said id is not always bad. It is good during the early years of a child, when they can express their needs and their needs can be attended to by the caregiver. Even sometimes adults, sometimes you can allow the id to control and have fun. When you say, I just want to go and swim and be happy in the water and behave like a child, that is good enough. So it is monitoring and tracking yourself. In what context are you doing it? And what are the consequences of allowing the id to control you? Allowing the superego to take control of you. But the baseline is we must have a strong ego to control ourselves. So those are the levels of conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. We have said the ego has got conscious. The superego has got conscious, preconscious, and unconscious. But look at the id. The basic impulses, like sex and aggression. I can have sex anytime with anyone. I can be aggressive anytime with anyone. Seeking immediate gratification, irrational and impulsive, operate at unconscious level. So that is just a demonstration of what we have discussed about the operation of the ego, the superego, and the id. So, according to Sigmund Freud, then he was saying that our childhood experiences influences our behavior. And to demonstrate this, he came up with what is called the psychosexual stages of development. And he borrowed a lot from his own experiences with his parents as well. These stages have a great contribution to personality. And Sigmund Freud's theory of psychosexual development is in 5 stages. Each stage occurs within a specific time frame of one's life. And according to Sigmund Freud, if one becomes fixated in any of the 4 stages, he or she will develop personality traits that coincide with a specific stage and cause. And therefore, he suggests that personality develops through these stages, and every stage has got some task to be navigated. And these tasks are centered around erogenous zones. These stages are oral, anal, phallic, latent, and genital. Each represents a key period in child's development. And in every stage, we are saying there are some tasks, there are some conflict to be resolved. If these conflicts are not resolved in those erogenous zones, then the personality of the person may be inadequate in adulthood. We have talked about something called fixation. In psychology, what is fixation? It is when some people cannot leave one stage and proceed to the next, because the needs of the developing individual at any particular stage may not have been adequately met. And this creates frustration, or possibly the person's needs may have been so well satisfied. This is very interesting. So well satisfied that the person is reluctant to leave the psychological benefits of a particular stage in which there is overindulgence. Therefore, both the frustrations and the indulgence, or any combination of the two, may lead to what psychoanalysts call fixation at a particular psychosexual stage. And therefore, fixation refers to a theoretical notion that a portion of the individual has been permanently invested in a particular stage of his development. For example, during the first 2 years of life, the child who is neglected or insufficiently fed, or who is overprotected or overfed, might become orally fixated. And this is Freud, 1905. So we can embark on these stages now. We have said he came up with the stages of development, and there are conflicts to be solved. If they are not solved, there is frustration. So the first stage is oral stage. By the way, am I still on air? Am I still communicating? Hello?
Yes, you are, Daktari. You're on air.
Thank you. Okay, the first stage of development, according to Sigmund Freud psychosexual stages, is the oral stage. That is between 0 to 1 year. During this stage, the child has got his libido, or what we have called erogenous zone, being the mouth. This is where the child have innate pleasure seeking energy. They feel so good manipulating their mouth. And therefore, they engage in oral activities such as sucking, biting, breastfeeding, chewing various objects, so that to satisfy their inherent desires. That's why you find people giving the child what we can call pacifier, bottle, pacifier, just to manipulate the mouth. And caution, if it is overdone, it can be a problem. This gives the child satisfaction. They learn about their environment through manipulation of their mouth. And that's how we are saying, whatever you find a child, whatever the child pick with the hand, they put it in the mouth. They want to taste, they want to suck, and so on and so forth. This one we are calling oral stimulation, which is very important in this stage. If the needs of the child to stimulate themselves orally is not met in this stage, the child will be fixated in the oral stage. So I find some people, when they find children sucking their fingers, they try to try to prevent it. And they may even tie that hand or that finger with a clothing. That is very unfortunate because the child is simply in a stage. Okay, some of the children may extend the stage beyond the expected period of time. That means that the child has got an issue, psychological issue. The issue is not about thumb sucking, this is a psychological issue. So we are saying, what is oral fixation? When a child needs are not met in oral stage, the child will be fixated. And this influences the personality development. Therefore, Sigmund Freud said, if a child is underfed or frustrated during feeding, he might become pessimistic, he might become envious, might become suspicious adults. On the other hand, if a child is overfed or overly gratified, he could become very optimistic, could become gullible or full of admiration. Also, according to Freud, this oral behavior can also be associated with the fixation that can lead a personality to become excessive drinker, excessive smoker, excessive eater, excessive nail-biting person, or becoming overly talkative. You just want to talk. You don't give other people's chance because you are compensating for what you lost, what you never gained, what you never achieved in this stage. And all this symbolizes fulfillment of the oral needs. What are we saying? According to Sigmund Freud, the smokers, the nail-biters, the overeaters, thumb suckers could be personalities who became fixated during the oral stage. And these people will portray this behavior, especially when they are stressed. Somebody who is stressed, he smokes a lot. Somebody who is stressed will bite the nails. Somebody who is stressed will overeat. Somebody who is stressed will dump sack. That's a grown-up now. So that's a demonstration of what happened during the oral stage. And that is what he's saying, that the childhood experience can contribute to a certain personality. Then the anal stage. The anal stage is from 1 to 3 years of age. And during this stage, the infant pleasure-seeking center are located in the bowels and the bladder. This stage coincided with the time the child is supposed to be toilet trained. And this training can be done either very strictly or not strictly at all. We are saying the child will feel so good in controlling or releasing their boils. So if this toilet training is not, or potty training is not done well, with a lot of kindness and empathy, or somebody become very restrictive of the child, then the conflict arises with the authority. And this also affects the future relationship with all forms of authority. Then the child develops what is called oral fixation if the toilet training is not done well, with kindness, with compassion, with empathy. And oral fixation in this stage leads to anal retention or anal expansion. Anal retention are characteristics like being overly neat. Somebody is perfectionist, overly precise. Somebody who is very orderly. And anal expansive involves very disorganized person, very messy person, or very destructive person. Therefore, unresolved conflict or issues during this stage can lead to problems later in life, such as excessive cleanliness, stubbornness, for control. Therefore, teachers and the parents need to know how to toilet train the children. They must be very keen because it affects the future person. They should ensure that children negotiate this stage successfully. And because teachers now know, they can also pass this information to their parents so that this personality can be shaped early enough. Meaning when a child is brought to school, you are brought a healthy personality because they were trained well during this stage of anal. And therefore we are saying the way parents train the children in using potty can either be early or harsh potty training, can lead to retentive personality who hates mess, is obsessively tidy, punctual, or stubborn, tight-fisted, somebody who hoard, does not like sharing their possession. And then when we have the anal expansive personality, we have said the adult can also have these negative characteristics. So the interaction between the child and the parent is very important during this particular stage, especially those children who are left under the the care of a caregiver. If the caregiver is not caring enough, the child will develop malfunctions. Then we have the phallic stage, 3 to 6 years. The attention becomes concentrated in the genitals, and masturbation becomes a new source of pleasure for both sexes. Children become increasingly aware of their bodies, exhibiting a heightened interest in their own genitals and those of the opposite sex. Additionally, their understanding of their anatomy or anatomical sex differences form, sparking a complex mixture of emotions. They don't know why girls are different from boys. And this may develop erotic actions or rivalry between girls and boys, even jealousy, resentment, fear. And all these are collectively called Oedipus complex in boys and Electra complex in girls. This is where, for the boys, Oedipus complex is where the boys admire their mothers, according to Sigmund Freud. But they realize that the father might become angry because of this admiration. And if the father becomes angry, the boys will be castrated by the father. And so automatically out of fear, they start aligning with the father. When they align with the father, they start learning masculine duties. And the boy becomes a man indeed. The Electra complex in girls is where the girls admire their fathers, but they are afraid that their mother will get angry when they discover this admiration. And so they start aligning with the mother. And when they align with the mother, they start engaging in feminine duties and they become women indeed. That's what you call Oedipus complex and Electra complex. So the period is solved through identification. The child identifies with the mother, with the father first, and then with the mother. The boy identifies with the mother first, and then with the father. And that's why some of the learners in school, maybe they have not had a chance for this identification. So they may want to identify with you as a teacher, as the mother, or as the father. And therefore, when the children come to asking you questions about their reproductive organs, give them the appropriate information because they are discovering themselves. Use the information they have to bring clarity in what they want to know. For example, children may come asking why mom and dad sleep together. Reflect the same question to them. Listen to their answer and give age-appropriate information. So sometimes we deflect the student questions inquiry and we leave them more confused than before. The phallic stage. The phallic stage, according to Sigmund Freud, functioned. So the phallic fixation also occur, and we have said that it will occur if there is no identification. It can also lead to sexual dysfunctions, problem with the gender identity, who am I? Difficulties in forming relationships. It could also lead to kind of adult personality that are overly vain. People will have sexual dysfunctionalities like exhibitionistic. Exhibitionistic are the people who gain sexual fulfillment by seeing naked people. Or they could even become sexually aggressive, that is even rapist. In men, phallic fixation might result in anxiety about sexual performance, the need for reassurance and validation, or a tendency to be overly assertive or aggressive from no apparent reason. In women, fixation at the phallic stage could lead to a desire to dominate men, a rivalry with other women, or the need for male attention or approval. You'll find clients who are fixated phallically. And now you understand them. You don't condemn them. See, how can I help them? Then the latency stage, between 6 to 11 years. During this stage, there is no pleasure-seeking region of the body. Instead, all sexual feelings are repressed. The erogenous zone or the libido stage, no further psychosexual development occurs. The energies are hidden. We call them latent. And these energies are now directed towards schoolwork, hobbies, and friendship. It is during this stage the child is able to develop social skills. They find comfort through peer and family interactions. For example, the focus shifts to other pursuits such as education, social relationships, and other skills necessary for successful adult life. Therefore, during this stage, the children are developing their social skills, they're also developing their intellectual skills, they are making friendship, they are developing hobbies instead of sexual interest. So this is a silent stage. It's a time for the child to develop. Much of the child energy is in developing new skills, acquiring new knowledge. Even play becomes largely confined to the children gender. They are not interested in the opposite gender. Actually, they are interested in the same gender. That is, if it is in a class, the child wants to sit next to another. If it's a girl, the girl wants to sit to another girl. The boy wants to sit to another boy. And therefore, if you make a mistake of putting them together, then you are spoiling for them because they have no interest this time. You are interfering with their development. There can also be fixation in the latency stage. The unresolved conflict or issues during this stage can lead to problem later on. For example, you want to make the girl and the boy sit together, but they have no interest. And therefore, this can bring about difficulty in expressing emotions or forming healthy relationships because you have impeded them. For instance, if a child fails to make strong social connections behind or academically during this stage, they may struggle with the feeling of inadequacy, insecurity, and social isolation in adulthood. Because this is why they want to do a lot of self-growth and development by learning new skills, by learning new hobbies. If a child fails to make strong social connections, perhaps they struggle to make friends or fit in with their peers. This could impact their social skills and potentially lead to feeling of isolation or inadequacy because they have not been able to develop the skills that are required for social competence. Similarly, if a child falls behind academically during this stage, perhaps struggling with reading, writing, or math skills. They might feel less competent than their peers, leading to insecurity or inadequacy. And this stage ends with the onset of puberty, when sexual urges resurface, and the individual enters the final stage of fluid psychosexual development called the genital stage. This is the last stage, the genital stage. It comes after latency stage. This is the onset of puberty, and it reflects strong interest from one person to one's opposite sex. In this stage, the girls and the boy want to interact. They want to talk. They want to exchange views and ideas. And therefore, as a guidance and counselor teacher, it is important to understand the stages because they can be a source of disturbance. And you need to explore with the client about their early years. Was this child allowed to interact with members of the opposite sex at the genital stage? Of course, in a controlled environment, why supervise them? You monitor them. And because they have feelings for members of the opposite sex, we call these heterosexual feelings. This might lead to romantic relationship or a crush on a peer. They might also look for information about sexual education. They might also learn about the consent and safe sex during this stage. Remember, these young people are experiencing emotional ups and downs. And so they might engage in new relationships as a way of pacifying these emotions. Therefore, in the long run, these people may form meaningful emotional relationships or meaningful emotional bonds with others. It might also help them to understand their own sexual identity and learn how to form mutually satisfying relationships. And if they're able to do this, then they are likely to settle down in a love one-on-one relationship. And thereafter, they may also become husband and wives because they have learned how to relate. There can also be genital stage fixation. According to Freud, the proper outlet of the sexual instinct in adult was through heterosexual intercourse. Fixation and conflict prevent this. It may prevent this, with the consequence that sexual perversions may develop. If somebody was not given an opportunity to interact with the members of the opposite sex, then they may develop sexual dysfunctions or perversions. And that's why we are saying the fixation. According to Freud, if individuals have unresolved conflicts or issues during this stage, it can lead to problems such as sexual dysfunctions, difficulties forming healthy relationship or other emotional issues. If somebody comes to you as a client with emotional issues and healthy sexual relationships, sexual orientations, then explore their childhood experiences during genital stage. That's the summary of Freud psychosexual stages. Look at the oral stage. The child is manipulating or stimulating the mouth, and they are feeling good about it. Erogenous zone is the mouth. Let the child manipulate their mouth during this stage. Let them suck, let them lick, let them chew. It is good for them. Anal stage, 1 to 3 years, erogenous zone is the bowel and bladder control. The child is feeling good. Seeing the bowel, releasing the bowel, going to the toilet, it makes the child feel good. So the environment must be conducive for the child to feel good about it. And then the phallic stage, 3 to 6 years, erogenous zone is the genital. You have said there is masturbation in this stage, so allow the child to manipulate their genitals. And the child also undergone Oedipus and Electra in this stage. Then there is latent stage. The child is not interested in sexual energy, he's interested in prey, forming relationships, developing skills, having hobbies, excelling in education, developing intellectual skills. Then genital stage, puberty to death, maturing sexual interest. The boy and the girl, they want together, they want to talk, they want to hold hands, they want to form relationships. And finally, they may end up becoming husband and wife. That is the Sigmund-Freud psychosocial stages of development. Daktari, are we still together?
Yes, we're getting you.
So could there be anybody with a question before you move on? Or somebody or something you can add? Or your own experience? Okay, if there isn't, let's move on to the other theory. The other theory is psychosocial theory of development by Erik Erikson. So Erik Erikson lived between 1902 and 1994, and he took Sigmund Freud's theory and he modified it as a psychosocial theory. This theory emphasizes the social nature of our development. Remember, Sigmund was emphasizing on conscious and unconscious and childhood experiences. But Erikson is talking about our social nature. He's saying that personality development takes place through our interaction with others, and it goes on through lifespan. For Sigmund Freud, we have ended at 11 years, but Erikson will go all the way to the end of life. He suggested that we interact with others in what felt sense of self, and what he called it our ego identity. It's very important how we form our identity, and this is formed by our interaction with the others. So he said that we have 8 stages of development from infancy through adulthood. At each stage, there is a task that one must master. There's a conflict to be solved in order to feel a sense of competence. And this is motivated by a need to achieve competence in our lives. And how well you complete, you master this task, you resolve the conflict in every stage, determines how healthy your personality will become. Failure to master this task may bring about the feeling of inadequacy. And therefore, a teacher, a guidance and counselor teacher must understand these stages to know the ages of our clients and help us to be able to know what they are struggling with. And you're going to look at these stages. The font is a bit small, but I hope we'll do with it. Okay, the first stage, according to Eric Erikson, is between 0 to 1 year. And the developmental task that one is supposed to master is task versus mistrust. What does this mean? During 0 to 1 year, the child is totally dependent on the caregiver. The child needs the caregiver for all her needs or his needs. The child needs food. Maybe he is going to cry. He's hungry. And the food will be provided or not provided. The child feels lonely. I want somebody to pick me. Is that given? The child feels I am cold. I cry. Is somebody going to cover me? Is somebody going to provide that warmth? I need love. Is it provided? I need nourishment of whatever nature. Is it provided? So if it is provided, if all the needs of a child are provided, at this point, that the child is so dependent, then the child develops trust. The child trusts the environment. The child trusts people. If these needs are not provided, the child learns mistrust. And the child becomes an adult who does not trust others at all. That is the stage. So how others react, respond to the needs of a child is very important. The second one is 1 year to 3 years. It's called autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is the age when the child starts doing small things by himself. The child wants to crawl. Maybe the child wants to start to stand or to start walking. The child wants to reach out something. The child even wants to try feeding themselves. Are they given the autonomy? Are they given the environment? Are they given opportunity to do things by themselves? If yes, the child develops autonomy, freedom. If a child is not allowed to make these discoveries, the child develops shame and doubt. And he grows to become that kind of an adult who does not trust themselves or does not trust himself. They doubt their abilities, they doubt their capacities, and so on. The third one, 3 years to 6 years, initiative versus guilt. This is a preschool. The child is getting school, cells. Out of curiosity, they want to initiate things. Out of curiosity, they even break cups in the house because they want to know what is there, what is made of. They want to discover what makes objects they're interacting with. They want to discover what happens when we pour food on the floor. That's being initiative, curiosity. How does the caregiver respond when the child is discovering things? If the child is not allowed to discover and somebody shout at them, even punish them, then the child may develop guilt. I will never try again. It is wrong to try new things. If a child is allowed to take this initiative, then it becomes very innovative. You can continue discovering, develop more curiosity. And they become the adult of that nature. Somebody wants to try many things. Somebody who is very ambitious. 7 to 11 years, industry versus inferiority. The child is now in school. The child has met new people. He has met teachers, new students. He has met new environment. How the environment accommodated this child? If it is a warm environment, the child learns to be industrious. But a child can also be in an environment that is toxic. Maybe the child is bullied in school. Maybe the child finds a hostile teacher. The child is rebuked in case he makes a mistake. That means the child develops a sense of inferiority. And he becomes an adult who is inferior. Then 12 to 8 years, identity versus confusion. This is the stage we have talked about, we have said it's critical stage of adolescence. The adolescent is asking, who am I? Am I an adult or am I a child? It's in a transitional stage from childhood to adulthood. If he's not guided to discover who he is, whether I'm a child, whether I'm an adult, if they're not supportive and encouraged, if they are not helped to solve their challenges pertaining to this transition, there is a lot of confusion in it. But if they are guided properly to discover themselves, to adopt the laws pertaining to the agenda, then they develop a very strong identity. Intimacy versus isolation. 19 years, 29 years. This is where the person is developing intimate relationship. He has formed social skills. He has formed a healthy relationship. Now he is developing intimacy. You want to be close to someone. If he's given an environment to interact with members of the opposite sex, to develop social skills, then he develops intimacy, romantic relationship. If this does not happen, the person develops isolation. That is, I don't want anyone near me. I don't have the social skills. And that person may even never find the need to have a family. 30 to 64 years, generativity versus stagnation. This is where the person has now developed, the person is having a family, and is also trying to make sense of life by contributing to the society. Maybe they are now leaders in their churches. Maybe they are principals in their school. Maybe they are head of departments. Maybe they are the leaders in their village. So they are trying to contribute to the well-being of the society. And if they find the opportunity to do this, they develop what is called generativity. They are connected, they are integrated in the community. If they don't find the opportunity to do this, they stagnate. Because they have the urge to contribute to the well-being, not just of their own family, but of the society. 65 years and above, integrity versus despair. This is a time when me and you, we look back to see, what have I done with all my life? Do I have any regrets? Have I lived my life to the fullest? Is there something I wanted to do and I did not do? Is there a course I wanted to do and I failed to do and I cannot do it now? How many opportunities have I lost? I was a family person. What did I do with my family? Did I abandon them? Do I have, I wish I knew? If we did not live a fulfilling life in all the other stages, then you have what is called despair. And you are told this person died a desperate person. But if you have done what you are supposed to do, if you have filled a fulfilling life, then you have what is called integrity. You will die a happy man, a happy woman. So, dear teachers and counselors, people you come for counseling because of any of these. One, because they developed mistrust when they were 0 to 1 year. Because they developed shame and doubt when they are 1 to 3 years. Because they developed guilt 3 to 6 years. Or because they developed inferiority between 7 and 11 years, or they developed confusion when they were adolescents, or because they developed isolation between 19 and 29 years, or they stagnated between 30 to 64 years, or they are desperate because they are 65 and above. So let's look at our learners, the people we interact with them every day. Can you be able to identify what is ailing our learners? We still have those that are 1 to 3 years, the BPP1, PP2, grade 1, grade 2, all of them are here. Can you help them to address the issues of the developmental task that were not achieved? Even ourselves. Could you also be suffering because of any of these? We look into ourselves and seek help. So we don't have to discuss that because of time. Then that is about the Erikson psychosocial development. Then we have cognitive development by Jean Piaget, 1896 and 1980. This is a very important theory because it tells us about our thinking. That when we are children, we are very inquisitive. We are very curious. Although children may not think like adults, they also develop their cognitive abilities along the way. The children develop what we call schemata, mental models that are used to help us categorize and interpret the information that we give them. And meaning, when a child becomes an adult, they have a concrete image for almost everything because they have formed a visualization, a model in their mind about what is happening. For example, when the child learning new information, they adjust their schemata or their visualization or mental models through what we call assimilation and accommodation. First of all, they assimilate new information or experiences in terms of their current schemata or mental models. And therefore, assimilation is when they take in information that is comparable to what they already know. Accommodation in this case is when they change their schemata or that mental model based on new information. And this process continues as children interact with the environment. That is, they continue assimilating, they continue accommodating. And this assimilation and accommodation is what we are calling the cognitive development within the context of Piaget theory. I don't want to read this story because of time. You read it time. So according to Piaget theory, there are these stages that each one of us passes through. For example, between 0 and 2 years, there is the sensorimotor stage. This is from the word senses. So we experience the world, or the child experiences the world through the senses and actions. The sense of smell, the sense of seeing, the sense of hearing, the sense of feeling, etc. That's how the child gets information from the environment. And this is where they develop what is called object permanence and stranger anxiety, meaning a child is able to know that if this is my mother, when my mother goes away, she does not change. The mother remains whether she's here or not. Then the stranger anxiety. When you pick this child, they may throw tantrums. They are not happy. They will cry because they don't know you. Because they already have object permanent. They know their people. They have formed a kind of a healthy bond with a significant person, or what you can call attachment, a healthy attachment with a significant person, according to Bowlby theory. Then the other one is 2 to 6 years. It is pre-operational stage. They can use words and images to represent things, but lack logical reasoning. For example, this child can pick blocks and start building with those blocks. But there is no logic behind it. Why am I putting the big block at the bottom? Why am I putting the lighter block on top? They cannot reason, but they can be able to do it. This is where the children will have developmental activity, like pretend play. The students will have activities where they pretend to be the mother, they pretend to be the father, they pretend to be the teacher, they pretend to be cooking. That is pretend play. They are also egocentric. Egocentric means they believe it is me and I. They are self-centered. When you give a child a sweet and you tell the child, touch for me that sweet, they will say no. And it is you who gave the child the sweet. That is egocentrism. Then they develop language, the language of expression. They can be able to express themselves. Then there is 7 to 11 years. There is concrete operational stage. In this stage, the child understands concrete events and analogies logically, perform arithmetical or operations or calculations. A bit of logic has now emerged at this stage. They can tell you the reason behind what they are doing, and the reason behind what they don't want to do, what you are telling them to do. And of course, they can do some addition, they can do some subtraction, they can do a bit of multiplication. The developmental task is that they cannot do conversation. They can coherently communicate. And they have mathematical transformation. They can do some calculations. Because the brain is still growing, they are still assimilating, they are still accommodating. Then 12 years, there is formal operational stage. There is formal operations. This person is behaving like a real adult. They can utilize abstract reasoning like an adult. They can argue with you. They can be critical, or they can think critically. They can be creative. They can be analytical. And that means they develop abstract logic. And they can think, or they can reason morally. They can say, this is good, this is bad. So dear teachers and the counselors, children may have issues because they have not developed in any of these stage, or they have delayed development in any of these stage, meaning their brain or some of the regions of the brain have not, or is not developing properly. Maybe could it be because the child has got some illnesses? Maybe the environment where they are living is toxic, or because they have some genetic disorder, and so on and so forth. It's good to know so that you don't blame them. Some of them will have childlike behavior, but their chronological age is above their thinking. So you expect this child to behave in a certain way, but they cannot because they have issues with their cognitive development. So I don't think we are going to repeat all this. I've explained them about sensory motor stage, what is happening. So these are the explanation of those stages. I've explained them through the diagram. These are the Piaget stages of cognitive development. Look at the first one, sensory motor stage. The child is using the senses. The sense of taste, something is in the mouth, the pacifier, they are holding the glass because they are feeling it. So the senses are at work. Pre-operational, look at the so they look at the concrete stage, they can be able to tell that though the one grass is longer than the other one, maybe the amount of water is the same. So they are becoming concrete in their thinking. Formal is somebody who can think in an abstract manner. They can tell this is a grass, full, empty, or this is a grass, half full. Those are abstract ideas, which this gentleman can do at this stage. So that is Piaget. So very fast, let's look at the moral development theory by Lawrence Korbach, 1927 and 1987. These psychologists believe that moral development, like cognitive development, allows or follows a series of stages. And he started this, or he came up with this idea by discovering what is called a moral dilemma to people of all ages. And he analyzed these moral dilemmas. And the answers that were given in moral dilemmas to come up with the particular stages of moral development. I don't want to read this Haynes dilemma. It is in our module. Maybe you can access it because of time. Read it, how the person had a moral dilemma, whether to steal something and buy medicine for somebody who is having cancer, or to let the person die. That's a moral dilemma. So you ask, how would you answer this moral dilemma? And therefore, according to Korbach, we progress from the capacity of being moral, become more moral, the stages. So he came up with various stages through which we develop morally. I think we can go directly to these stages. He said the stages of moral development start with pre-conventional morality. This takes place at the age of 9 years. At the age of stage, others. So the child will add other people. The children will associate good behavior to reward and a bad behavior to punishment. They will therefore make efforts to be obedient. And this becomes a very important stage to mold child's behavior. Their moral reasoning is guided by personal ethics. And that's how we said teachers and parents must mold the child's behavior during this early stage, when they are endeavoring to be obedient. From this, the stage where they associate good behavior with reward and bad with punishment, they move to another stage called conventional morality. This is between 9 to 13 years, where the child believes that social rules and expectations of others determine whether acceptable or acceptable behavior. Therefore, the family, the schools, and the community have got a major responsibility in moral development, because the moral values are based on extended ethics of the community or the school of the caregiver. It is this stage where the learners will obey rules which have been stipulated to them. And therefore, we cannot exist without the rules and the regulations, because they determine how the child is going to accept, how the child's behavior is going to be molded. Therefore, children who have grown in a home with no rules and regulation, then they will lack this capacity. And therefore, they will have issues with authority. Then we have post-conventional stage. This is 14 years and beyond. In this stage, what is right shall be based on one's understanding of the universal ethical principle, not about the school, not about the community, not about the family. It's about the understanding of universal ethical principle. The individual develops their own set of ethics and morals that drives their actions and decisions. They are no longer guided by the institutions. They have their own set of morals. In this stage, the universal ethics and principles and social pride, setting standards and norms, rules and regulations and ethics standards are a key because they guide on morality. Therefore, exposing the learners to universal morality is very important, because we are not bringing up children who are local. We are bringing up children who interact globally. And therefore, the school rules, the laws, and regulations are important. Main institutions. So if you look at the Kohlberg's theory, right, the levels and the stages, we have talked about there has to be obedience, good behaviors are rewarded, bad behaviors are punished. We call it the level of obedience and punishment. This will occur during infancy stage. Be avoiding punishment. There is self-interest, the preschool. The interest shift towards rewards rather than punishment. A child will make effort to do the right thing. Conformity and interpersonal accord. The school age. The good boy, the good girl mentality. The child will behave according to the approval of others. Authority and social order. The school age. Like there are supposed to be fixed rules and regulation to guide morality. The social contract. This is where we have the teens. There has to be mutual benefit, reciprocity. The same. Then universal principle is where we have said somebody will behave according to the global standards. And so it is important to realize that even those people who have post-conventional reasons for some choices, reasons. Therefore, many psychologists agree with Kohlberg's theory of moral development, but point out that moral reasoning is very different moral behavior. Sometimes we say we would do situation, not that we in order to live. So finally, and so we are looking at the theories as a guidance into how we interact with our client. If somebody has got moral issues, look at the Kohlberg stages of moral development. Will the person be stuck? If the person is having childhood issues, could he also pick the psychoanalysis theory of Sigmund Freud and look at their fixation? If somebody is having issues with the stages of development like Erikson has stated, could it be that somebody did not interact well with the caregiver at one stage or the other, and that's why they're having issues? And then you can borrow from those theories. Therefore, with those kind of theories, it means that we can address all the issues that we may find with our clients. We can address our own issues. We can identify our own fixation, and we can be able to align ourselves. So with that, I think we have covered, though we have rushed towards the end, I think we have covered all the stages in human lifespan. We have covered the theories and try to put it into practice. Wherever you find somebody to talk to, try to understand what are their struggles. Where are their struggles grounded? In which theory are their struggles attached to? And how can you help them to align with the theories using the techniques in every theory? So understanding others, understanding ourselves is the key using the theories we have discussed today. Thank you, Daktari. I'm through.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mwaura. You can tell my colleagues now that we are through with our module. We've now talked about the theories, and the theories ground you. We've discussed quite a number of theories. We've not exhausted them, and it is like we picked one. If it is psychodynamic, we picked one. If it is humanistic, we picked one, etc, etc. Now it is upon you now to look for more information, read more, build yourself. Dr. Mwaura, thank you so much. You've been with us, and we're still looking forward to having you for a longer time. Remember, she has said that if there's somewhere you feel you did not understand very well, you let me know, and we will invite her again. And if you require her number, I know she's always allowed me to use it. Please reach out, and I will give you Margaret's number. Even all the other people we've had with us in the learning, or the other lecturers we've had, please, if you're someone you need to reach out to, don't shy. Just let me know what you want, and I will avail the numbers, because counselors are counselors. Numbers zao are never private. Ni kama namba ya mwalimu. Najua namba ya mwalimu iko mpaka na caretaker wa building. Ati ndio mtoto asipofika mwalimu anaweza pigiwa. Same thing with counselors. Our numbers are free and available. We normally say they are in the public domain. So thank you so much, Dr. Margaret. Thank you so much, colleagues. I'm in another meeting, so I'm holding 2 meetings at the same time. And so I request I be given a chance, we get a chance for one of us to pray for us, to funge, then I will communicate more on the wall. But my number is still free. Anytime you feel you're conflicted by anything, let me know. Most of the times, the things we put on the wall is open for all of us. And most of the times, all of us have an answer. But something that is disturbing you, just isolate it, send it to me, just talk to me. So colleagues, we'll take a break. We'll take a short break this month of November and the month of December. And if you're to meet, sorry, not if you're to meet. God willing, we'll meet again in January. We have 2 more units to go. And we will meet in January. I'll give the date. Please reach out if there's somewhere umekwama. You have a lot of work. That one, we cannot take it for granted. Muko na kazi nyingi. As we continue growing, let's keep on building each other. Thank you so much, colleagues. Have a good night. Have a good holiday. Enjoy the holiday with the children and your significant others. Take care of yourself, because self-care is yours. You don't delegate that. It is you who knows what eats you. It is you who knows what makes you tick. Take care of yourself. Wakati mwema na Mungu awabariki. Let's get one person to pray for us. Tuombewe. John, allow one participant to unmute. Allow a participant to unmute. Tuombe tufunge kikao. Nani anatuombea? Ezekiel Mutua, tuombe. Unmute please, Ezekiel. Tuombe tafadhali. Ezekiel, I've unmuted you. You are unmuted. Tuombe. Ezekiel is now muted. Where is my friend? Yes, Charles. Thank you, Charles. Tuombe. Charles, unmute. Josiah, unmute. Yule ana uwezo wa ku-unmute, tafadhali unmute. Josiah, unmute.
Let us believe and pray.
Thank you.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, we glorify your name, saying that you're so much so grateful.
We thank you for this part that you have taken upon us throughout this training, King Almighty. We thank you for our trainers. We thank you for the doctors who have been with us since we started the session, King Almighty. We thank you. There is no other like you, King Almighty. As we are going for the third term, as we are doing our research, King Almighty, Lord, be with us, Lord. Help us, King Almighty, bring a change in the community. In the name of Jesus Christ, we do pray and give thanks. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Josiah. And all of you, have a good night and thank you so much. Dr. Margaret, we'll always look for you. Thank you.